Do I not speak the news to you? Do I not encourage the truth to be heard? At least the one I'm paid to share. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Konflikt 47, the grand campaign hosted here at Hobby Trench, I being your host, Gorz. Today we will be going over June 1939, the third chapter of our adventure so far. We have our Supreme Generals have listed every scheme, plan, and article of their scheme. Right here, I have the articles of every scheme, plan, and news of all the Supreme Generals that have comprised this campaign, all 17 of them so far in this season of early war. I would like to just announce that this episode, this chapter, this is the true start of the Konflikt War. 1939 June will be the beginning of World War II in our game, as every nationality has begun the production and the amassing of the greatest forces I've seen, and have quite literally broken the quantity of tokens I have for the game itself. We're about to, oh man, I alluded to it last week, but I am not truly prepared on exactly how big this really was. Where's that hair? There's another hair. Get out of here. Starting with the Red Army. The Red Army, being the first to initiate into this June movement, did not do any attacks, any assaults, any invasions. No, instead, more walls, more trenches, more bunkers, more factories, more headquarters, more large super heavy howitzer gun emplacements. They have denied the airspace, the walls of the barriers of landscape, everything and anything that can be put up with another layer of defenses have been placed onto the new Prussian and Red Army border, more so than anywhere else in the world. The greatest concrete wall the world has ever seen. Wow. The Emperor's conquerors on the eastern fringes of China have fortified all of their provinces that are under their control, building gun emplacements, building factories, and fortifying armies as they march them through into Manchuria. However, they have been interrupted by a counter-invasion by the Arctic Research Command. The Soviets of southern Siberia, as well as Stans, have marched in from the north and have begun an active war with the Emperor's conquerors. Beyond that, Arc themselves have only been able to fortify their Stan provinces and have solidified their authority into the Xinjiang? Oh my God, these regions, they're gonna drive me crazy. Solidifying their authority in the Xinjiang province, as well as they are marching south into Tibet to secure the area from the new expeditions that have begun to be discovered across the world. Now we can continue speaking on behalf of all of the Supreme Generals, but there is something more pressing that we should address. Throughout the world, places like Turkey, Amir, and Tibet, these regions, as well as several dozen others, have been noticed to have strange archaeology dig sites. These dig sites seem to be controlled by criminal and local militias led by leaders like Dado Hadwin, who have been hired by strange, shadowy, purple-robed individuals with special strange weapons that begin to dig in these locations. They are searching for things that we don't seem to understand. No governments or militaries have access to these archaeology dig sites, and several organizations have began to initiatives to investigate, shut down, or in cooperation with these shadow organizations. For what we are to know about them, who's to know, who's to tell? But soon I will find the truth behind what these strange groups are doing and what their motives truly are. Now, let us get back to the Supreme Generals and the daily, monthly, bi-monthly news on exactly where the war front is going. Starting with next with the Project Colossus, Project Albion Colossus, or what were to be them if they weren't being systematically demolished in the African front. As we can see, they have expanded from the Congos down to Angola, as well as holding their solidified control in Saudi Arabia with gun emplacements and a rift network. Beyond that, they've only been able to fortify, as every attack they've done into the Last Templars was betrayed by another British faction. The Raja Sentry, with their peace treaty with the Last Templars, has led to them working in collaboration in the invading of all Project Colossus provinces, cutting off both Congo from Saudi Arabia. They are now two isolated territories that might not last very much longer. Okay. Alright. The Death March. I lost out my voice right there. In South America, on the northern side of the continent, Liberty Sky has fortified using garrisons, dozens of regiments, headquarters, and refineries to prepare their preparations on exactly how they're going to address the Death March, which, however, has expanded and marched all of their forces onto the coastlines of the rest of the South American continent, solidifying their near absolute authority in the entire region. Kokutai. I've been told I've been saying it wrong. So, it's like a bird. Cuckoo. The Kokutai Clan has expanded into Thailand and Burma, taking the southern reach of the Asian continent into their absolute authority. They have as well marched the first initiative cross-continental through the Pacific into the largest invasion of the North American continent, marching forces into Mexico and California in the dozens of regiments. No one has seen a larger invasion, and this being the true instigator for World War II. They even sent a battleship to suppress a fire in California. California didn't even have any regiments. All they're doing is just shelling the civilians, ensuring they're in complete control. In return, Ohio's Honor, originally controlling Mexico, retreats to Nicaragua, and in doing so, it seemed more like a negotiation was made for a peaceful setback compared to an actual resistance towards the Japanese invasion. This being very concerning for the United Coalition, as there was a great deal of stress that they were all united under one front and one team. However, there does seem to be a breaking point on that now that there's an actual threat to consider. Yikes. In a true strike of luck, Mack's Maulers built several regiments in Nunavut and Newfoundland, which coincidentally was invaded by the court of Avalon in a massive invasion of the Canadian front from Greenland. Greenland. It is quite strange on this betrayal. However, from what we've seen so far, they seem to have made a treaty with New Prussia to no longer be in acts of aggression towards each other. In return, he attempted to redirect his forces to try to take a foothold in what he saw as a weakness in North America. This was completely stopped by Max Muller's forces and has lost 19 regiments, thousands upon thousands of Court Avalon's men in the sea on the shores of Canada. Some betrayals are never worth attempting. On the African front, next to the Last Templars and the Raja Sentry, the Eisenwerewolves have initiated one of the largest invasions on the continent. They've expanded into 5 different regions and smaller subcontinents on the western and northern African fronts, uniting easily 2/3 of the entire region under a single flag of the Iron Werewolves. We already discussed prior, the Raja Sentry not only allied with the Last Templars, Axis powers in the African front, however, have betrayed a British player in the Australian front against the Royal Tinmen, expanding and doing a massive invasion initiative to try to claim the entire continent in one swift move. Their being stunted over in Africa was also stunted in Australia. They have taken ground, but truly not as much as they were intending to do so. This Raja Sentry has now made itself very clear, much like the Kokutai Clan, as being another instigator of massive world war, betraying both allies and common royal men of the crown. The Moroz Division has done little in the act of aggression, as they united all of the eastern front of Siberia, shown here, as well as switched the flags of who controls the Urals here, and have now begun the largest initiative of construction in the last 2 months of Moscow and Murmansk into the most urbanized areas in the world in the shortest amount of time. A marvel of Soviet industry. Compared to the last few months of the early wars of this campaign, New Prussia has simply began to solidify its borders, negotiate with neighbors, and have made a treaty with the court of Avalon. Besides these terms, they have negotiated terms for control of Iceland and have agreed to begin a process of escorting the pilgrimage of both the court of Avalon as well as the Royal Tinmen back to their quote-unquote homelands of India and Australia when given time. The promise of building navy ships for them to be ferried with has been made. No ships have yet to be constructed. Who's to say the trust is truly worth it? At this time, I am now reviewing my notes. My editor is insisting that I need to double check, but I know that I am never wrong. It'd be a lot easier if I could read my own handwriting. This one's upside down. And that is the first turn. That doesn't even belong here. Now, my fellow audience, those so concerned about the politics of the war that's going on in our lives here in fictional 1939, I just want to say, I assure you that I will continue to maintain the news and ensure the trust of you, the audience, that there will be nothing that will be missed by me, Gorz, here at Hobby Trench. You are safe in Hobby Trench's hands. I'm knocking little people over. And if it has any relevance, this is only possible by volunteers and supporters that make this, both the players, the editors, and me taking time out of my workday to do this. So I just want you to understand that having a little initiative to help like and subscribe what we're doing here would go a great ways of the amount of money I've put into making this possible. So please, please, help me not be bankrupt. I think that's perfect.